and it takes us into the final scene that we're going to look at briefly tonight, which is what happens now in the land after they've conquered it, between the time of Joshua and the time that we call the period of the kingdom. And that's contained in the book of Judges. And the book of Judges covers a period roughly of 400 years. So again, I mean, if you think about these massive periods of time, about a generation in the book of Joshua. 10 years of actual fighting, it appears, but you know, by the end of the book, Joshua he's an older man. He's kind of, you know, it kind of makes a reference to the fact that long after this, you know, and so you got about a generation there in that book. But now you're going to cover a long period of time where the story is going to unfold in terms of how well these guys do living under a theocracy and being faithful to Yahweh with the commitment that's just been renewed again. Now, the book of Judges has two big themes to it, and they're relatively easy to remember. It's a book about characters, and you can take that both ways because there's a lot of people, characters in the book that are highlighted that are these leaders that we translate the Hebrew word shofet. We translate it as judge. It doesn't mean judge in the sense of what we think about normally as a judge. They really are almost deliverers is probably a better way of looking at it. I think the word literally means a restorer of righteousness. And so these heroic figures, and some of them are real characters. I mean, you know, this is where you got guys like Samson. You got guys like, you know, Gideon, you know, and his fleece and all of those kinds of stories. You have by the way, one of the great female leaders of the nation, Deborah, who God anoints and calls to be one of the judges. For those of you that haven't yet read the Examiner piece where I'm talking a little bit about biblical illiteracy, I make a reference to not knowing which of the judges was left-handed. And this is biblical trivia at its finest because Ehud is a guy who straps a dagger onto his left thigh and gets into the king of Moab, I think, who's apparently had been hitting the fast food a little too hard. And when no one is looking, he pulls the sword from his left thigh and kills the guy, and it says that, you know, that the sword kind of like really goes in because the guy is relatively large. So anyway, characters, you know, and so you have 7 main characters and then sort of a little list of minor characters and chaos. This is a book about chaos because, and again, if we're thinking film-wise, you know, this is like, think rapid montage again, kind of going over and over and over, you know, through the same series or cycles of chaos, and the book really has 7 main cycles that I'm going to show you what it looks like in a minute, but this gives you a feel. This is one little cycle, and this is the first of the Judges, Othniel, and this is what the book of Judges says. The Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and they forgot the Lord their God and served the Baals and the Asherahs. Now, here we go. You know, generation has passed. This is, you know, I mean, now we're down line from this commitment that they've made with Joshua. So now they've caved in, and Baal and Asherah are gods of the Canaanites. And that the very reason, and this is critical in this book, by the way, the very reason that God has given them land, He didn't give them the land of Canaan because of how good they were. Okay, He had a covenant with them that's based on grace and promise. Okay, and they haven't done anything to earn this covenant. But the reason He gives them the land is because of how bad the people in the land are, and now they're embracing the behaviors, theology, and belief system of the people in the land. Okay, so they are, again, come back, okay. All right, So that they've served the Baals and the Asherahs, and the anger of the Lord burned against Israel, so that he sold them into the hands of Cushan Rishathaim, king of Aram Naharaim, to whom the Israelites, I have no idea if that's how it's pronounced, by the way, but if you say it with confidence, most audiences just kind of think, oh, he knows how that is. So anyway.